As you look at this sheet, what do you see? Well, usually when asked this question, people say some sort of constellation, or they almost always focus on these little black dots. And yet, most of the sheet is white. That illustrates how our mind so often tends to focus on the things that are wrong, the negative things. Do you ever notice that in your child? Sometimes they focus on what's wrong or they feel stuck when they don't get their way? Well, that's kind of normal. But the good news is you can help them flip that mindset. Napoleon Bonaparte famously said, "A leader is a dealer in hope." Every child benefits from being a positive thinker because focusing on the possibilities produces hope, and hope does not disappoint. But for kids who aspire to be leaders, hope isn't just a good thing, it's essential. Great leaders face setbacks, yet they inspire others by seeing possibilities instead of problems. In this episode, we'll explore how to help your child move from a glass half empty outlook to becoming a hopeful, inspiring leader. You're going to like it.
Welcome to another edition of Kid Lead Academy Training Series with Dr. Alan E. Nelson, designed to help parents develop their children to lead so they can succeed. And now, here's Alan.
Now, believe it or not, hope is not just a sort of Pollyannish emotion or feeling. There's real science behind it, and a lot of it has to do also with leadership effectiveness. Hope is a leadership tool. You see, leaders who exude hope are shown to increase team morale by 20%, even in difficult circumstances. Negativity hurts problem solving. A pessimistic mindset can reduce creative problem solving by 40%, while a positive outlook enhances it. Modeling positivity matters. Children are 75% more likely to adopt a hopeful mindset when their parents model resilience and positive thinking. And hopeful leaders motivate others. You see, the research from the University of Kansas found that teams led by hopeful leaders are 15% more productive and 18% more engaged than those led by neutral or pessimistic leaders. Positive leaders build resilience. Leaders with a hopeful mindset help their teams bounce back faster from challenges. Studies show that hope-oriented leadership can improve group resilience by 20 to 30%. And hope fuels visionary thinking. According to Gallup, 90% of effective leaders attribute their success to maintaining hope and optimism during tough times. Here are some great quotes that have to do with this subject. Psychologist William James said, "Pessimism leads to weakness, optimism to power." My former mentor, John C. Maxwell, said, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, but the leader adjusts the sails." Robert Schuller once noted that hope, H-O-P-E, stands for hanging on to positive expectation. And Dr. Sean Achor said, "Research shows that only 10% of our happiness is due to external things in our environment. Therefore, we need to focus on the internal, choosing how we see things." So let me give you 4 practical, experiential learning activities for turning negativity into leadership hope. Number 1, lead the team problem-solving challenges. For example, your child is in charge of organizing a family game night, but there's a setback. One sibling wants Monopoly and another wants Uno. Well, so guide your child to focus on solutions by asking, what's a fair way to make everyone happy? Encourage them to lead the family in finding a compromise, like alternating games or inventing a mashup of both. Another example is your child is planning a small neighborhood lemonade stand with friends, but it starts to rain. Well, encourage your child to take charge by brainstorming alternatives. How can we still sell lemonade today? Can we set up in the garage or deliver it door to door? A third example is during a family camping trip. The tent won't fit in the planned spot, so ask your child to lead the discussion. What's the best alternative place to set up the tent? Encourage them to consider everyone's input and make a decision that works for the group. A second thing is what I call a vision board with positive statements. For example, have your child cut out pictures, draw, or write positive statements they can read as they brush their teeth and get ready for the day or before going to bed at night. We've done this on and off in our family over the years, and our youngest son, who's now 30 and the personal strength and conditioning coach for Mookie Betts, he still does it. Here are some possible phrases you can use, and I'll put these in the show notes as well. Every day is a fresh start. I am brave and I can try new things. Mistakes help me learn and grow. Every problem has a solution. I will find it. I can make a difference today. I am stronger than I think. Challenges help me get better. I keep going even when it's hard. There's always something good to notice. I believe in myself and my ideas. Come up with your own and put them on Post-it notes and put them around the house or at least on the bathroom mirror so that they have that sort of positive input every day. A third idea is role-playing leadership scenarios. For example, create a pretend situation. You're the captain of a soccer team and your group just lost an important game. Everyone's feeling down. What would you say to lift their spirits and keep them focused on the next game? Practice together and give feedback on how they can inspire confidence and hope in the team. Here's another example. Pretend you're a group of kids preparing for a talent show, but one of the performers feels too nervous to go on stage. Ask your child to play the role of a team leader and encourage the nervous team member. They might say, "Hey, what part of the performance makes you nervous? Let's practice it together so you feel more confident." A third example is to role play a scenario where your child is the leader of a cleanup crew at a park and their team is complaining about how hard the work is. Have them brainstorm ways to boost morale, such as turning the cleanup into a fun competition or focusing on how their work helps the environment. I remember one time my wife and I were visiting our son and our two granddaughters, and they had a playroom and it was in disarray. And so instead of the traditional approach, my wife said, "We will take turns being a queen. And when you're the queen, then you can ask people to clean up certain things. And then every minute we'll have a new queen and you can give some directions to the others." And so literally they turned this laborious, negative activity into one that was actually a game, and it was fun. And they still talk about it today. And that leads us to kind of the fourth idea I want to give you today is to reframe setbacks as opportunities. For example, if your child is upset because they got a low grade on a math test, help them think like a leader by reframing it. Ask, what can you learn from this? How can we make a plan to improve next time? Then set a leadership goal. Let's create a weekly study group with our classmates where you can also help others. A second example is if your child didn't make the basketball team at school, help them reframe the disappointment by discussing what skills they could improve on. Say, what do you think the coach was looking for? How about we work on that together and you try again next season? You could even help them join a community team to build their skills in the meantime. A third example is if they fail to get the lead role in a school play. Perhaps suggest they think like a leader by supporting the production in other ways. Ask, how can you still make this play great? Would you like to help with costumes or props or maybe assist the director? You see, research in positive psychology has taught us that we're far more likely to be successful if we're happy than to be happy if we're successful. So if we change our mindset, we will change our lives. I'll include a link in the show notes to Dr. Sean Achor's TED Talk, The Happiness Advantage. It's also the title of a book that I highly recommend you read. Supposedly many years ago, there was an escape artist. There's a story about a man who could get out of almost any prison, any jail cell that he was locked into. And so he made around all of these prisons and people were aghast that he was able to get out. Well, one day, this group of people in a small little village decided to challenge this escape artist. And so they built this jail cell and they put in the typical locks and they put in a lot of the things that you would expect to see that would make it challenging for this person. And so they locked him in the cell and they left. So the escape artist pulled out his typical tools that he was going to pick the lock, but for some reason it wasn't working that day. And he tried hour after hour, and he was unsuccessful. And with sweat beating up on his forehead, he decided to sit down and he leaned against the door and it swung open. You see, the door had never been locked. It had only been locked in the man's brain, in his thinking. And that story lets us know that sometimes we have locked in thinking and we can't get out of our thinking because it's only locked in our mind, only locked in the way we see things. We all experience moments of negativity, don't we? So do our kids. But as parents, we have the opportunity to guide our child into a mindset that leaders embrace, turning setbacks into opportunities and bringing hope to others. By helping them tackle challenges with positivity, envision possibilities, and inspire their peers, you're preparing them for leadership that truly makes a difference. Remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about inspiring others to believe in the answers we can create together.